the capture point and take it. But they've got a Max Isley by himself trying to fight the Connery force. I don't know if he could do it. He could use his help from the guys up top. And also, the Connery force has gone right past the Sunder, deciding not to take out, which is at your own peril, because now Miller forces are spewing out of the buildings. Maxes and infantry coming into the capture point, so even if the Connery forces could get the flipping point, which they are doing right now, there's so many reinforcements coming in from Miller that this is only going to be a matter of time before they recapture the capture point.
I have found what I think is the end of another air battle. I'm very surprised. I have seen very little presence from Connery in the air here. There was I would say probably half a platoon left of Reavers in the air over Waterson's Redemption, and they were fighting a scattering of size that either attacked them in a small number or were wiped out. But in doing so, those sites have drugged the air support away from Waterson's Redemption, and Connery is back on the points, all 4 points, and it's 3 minutes to cap. They almost have this down halfway again.
I take back everything I said about Iceland Mining operations. The Vanu force from Connery was greatly reinforced. It looks like it's TRG and a variety of other assistant outfits. The Miller force, which is EDT, and perhaps some others, I can't see the tags clearly because I'm not an NC character. They do have lots of people. In fact, the numbers might be close to 50-50. No, it's 60-40, so Connery force has got an advantage. The Miller force just brought in a whole bunch of Maxes earlier, which is the great equalizer of all things. But they're slowly being repulsed now back to their spawn sunder. It's a brutal fight over the small gaps and the kind of cords and the craggy edges of this base. I have to say though, the Connery force has got the better cover, being able to kind of poke up and then just get easy kills against the Miller force.
Now there is a ghost cap going on at Manny Lake Satellite. There is 1 of 12 up there for the BS. I'm going to go chase this. I think this is probably one sneaky little infiltrator who stayed behind and is still on point. He almost has the base too. Oh, he just as I got here, he was cleared off, looks like. But that was a very long cap for a very small number of people at this base.
The problem with res grenading is that it's a very desperate measure. You throw res grenades on your guys when you don't own the ground, so it's not safe for them to jump up, because there is always that 1 second delay when you get rezzed that you basically can be shot, but you can do nothing yourself. And the Connery force has cleaned up the spawn sunder, so they've made a successful save on ISA mining operation. Oh, and I tell you what, they're making a good push at Waterson's Redemption while they're at it.
Yes, Waterson's Redemption is very slowly being... Oh, never mind, all the points are flipping here. The NC just massively reinforced here. This cap came down very, very far until the NC had to come back in force to resecure this point here.
Not seeing any spawn sunders, so it looks like the Connery force is just coming in and just wiping the floor. Sorry, the Miller force is wiping the floor off the Connery. Yeah. And they're just rotating around. I mean, it is a dictated response, and the question is that will they leave too quickly, because it takes 3 minutes and 30 seconds to make a full save? So are they just going to abandon the base, or will they stay here until it's fully secured and then decide to make it?
It is an interesting question, because Connery seems to be jumping large forces around. They made a push up at Manny, they made a push down here at Waterson's, now they're making a push at Ymir Biolab, and they're attacking several bases here that have very quick capture points. So it's now 90 seconds to capture Ymir Biolab.
Right. Well, there's a very large Miller force at Rime Analytics that can do nothing because of Sarah listing posts. So you have over one whole platoon at Rime Analytics not being useful elsewhere. You also, at the time, had 2 squads at Manny Lake Satellite responding. So is Miller responding with too many people to small fires and therefore not having enough people to respond to the larger fires? Case in point, let's say the Biolab in the south.
And the Biolab is interesting. Connery, I think, came in here practically unopposed, because they flipped the points, but they are now sitting at spawn contain. They are already...
Oh yes, the spawn control, yeah. So they're surrounding the main entry points from the spawn room. The only exit points are either a mad dash up until the back of the Bravo capture point, going through a jungle and wrapping around to get to the Charlie capture point, or just bursting your way through to the SCU.
Under a minute left on this Biolab, and one would assume that the NC would want to keep a Biolab.
Where's the force? I don't see them on the minimap.
I don't see any Miller here yet. I don't know if they're...
Oh, here it comes, right. So now comes Jungle. Jungle galore. That is a very large push. Lots of Maxes, lots of supporting engineers, heavy assaults, medics. It's a complete kind of combination, and they are pushing very heavily, all going jungle. They realised no one was watching jungle, no one was watching the south pad. They've got themselves to the Charlie capture point. That's a start. Are they going to stay at sea? There's a lot of people on one point. The SU generator, so the SU itself, sorry, has been charged. They still have 60 seconds. They need to spread out. They can't stay in one building and get AV grenaded. Looks like the Vanu force is trying to hold the generator itself, but the Miller force just too strong with maxes. PTSD all over again. No more, man. I don't want any more shotguns. Oh, it looks painful to watch. I mean, the Connery medics are trying to res, they're trying to defend the generator, but it's been saved. One guy, all it takes is just to save it. That's that one guy right there. NC-109 made the save. And Miller's got 2 points.
This is the difficulty now once the map has stabilized this way. Every time you attack, you show your enemy exactly how many people you have there. And so your enemy can immediately say, oh, you have 48 to 96, I'm sending exactly, 96 and above. They know exactly what to send and can send force appropriate to just kick you off.
But last time, I think when it was Connery and Briggs, I believe it was Briggs, and I could be mistaken here, but one of the teams did a system where they had the ability to bring in reinforcements. So they had 2 squads, and the enemy responded in kind by bringing 3 or 4 squads to respond. But as soon as those numbers spiked up, the attacking force immediately brought in an extra platoon, so they kind of countered the enemy's counter, as it were, and then kept the population advantage. And then since there was only like a minute left, the defenders couldn't bring in extra people to get the capture point back.
Now, Connery is currently losing the point at Aurora Materials Lab. They're
also losing ice and mining operation.
Miller has managed to get a little bit of a spawn contain going here. They don't have very much air, there's just one Valkyrie. I'll be interested to see who comes. Oh, Connery is making the push for the point now. And unfortunately that Valkyrie is not really doing too much to them at the door. But that grenade did. They just got C4'd at the door trying to come through.
The Miller force is doing a very, very valiant defense of the capture point. Lots of res grenades going on, but they don't have the reinforcements and they don't have the high ground, so it's a matter of time before this absolute horrendous crushing by the Connery force just pushes them off. I suppose now's, what are we? We're almost half an hour into this game. We'll just bring up some interesting stats. We are up. The Connery force is actually in the lead slightly in terms of kills. They're roughly just over 3,300 and the Miller forces are at 3,100. This is interesting. In the leaderboards, you know what? That's a bit confusing because we don't have color-coded backgrounds. We need to fix that for later.
So Connery has made a big push into the point here to Aurora Materials Lab, and there's a lot of smoke, but I believe they did take it. I can't really see too many people inside here.
Oh, the Millers, yeah, Aurora Material Lab still going at 55 seconds. Do you think Miller will get their hands on it?
Well, I was following some heavy assaults through smoke, and I thought they made it to the point. I guess now they did not. So Miller has managed to hold on here through that last push. There's another push coming from Connery, facing into a Scat Max.
The Miller force is not giving up ice and mining operations either. I mean, although they lost the capture point, fresh reinforcements are streaming in from the Sunders, and it looks like they might actually get the capture point back. It actually looks like they're pushing back the Connery forces. Interestingly enough, the top outfits, I only recognise top Connery outfits at the moment. It's possibly because some of the Miller guys haven't actually gone with outfit tags. They've gone with outfit tags that reflect their name rather than the outfit that they're from.
Connery managed a massive resecure at the last moment. This was classic server smash tactics. Lots of C4, lots of AV grenades, and unfortunately, as you start losing people as defender, you have to group up more around the point. And one explosive.
But Miller still has 2 attacks going on, one at Rime Analytics and one at Ice and Mining Operations, what we're currently looking at right now.
Yes, and this is the thing. Connery has now been repulsed at 2 different locations in the last, say, 10 minutes here with Waterson's Redemption and Ure Biolab, and they still have forces at Waterson's trying to keep that ticking, but you're seeing countering between forces. Miller has played it very safe with not sending too many people somewhere and abandoning somewhere else, and Connery has yet to be able to group up enough people together as a fist and push through into a certain base.
It does look like Connery's making another save ice and mining operations. It's that kind of upper platform overlooking the capture point that's really valuable. So although then yes, Miller did have people on the capture point, you have to hold the high ground, and it's that consistent holding of the high ground that seems to be missing them. Interesting, another stat is we're showing the vehicles. I love this new vehicle stuff. There have been 569 Reaver kills and 443 Scythe kills, i.e. kills made by said vehicles. Then comes the Vanguard at 109. No Mag Rider kills on the list. All Vanguards. And then comes the Galaxy. Galaxy has 99 kills. Who's been belly ramming people?
I think part of that is probably just that Miller seems to be very much valuing keeping its air up, and I have not witnessed it, but when you keep your air up and you can keep a Galaxy up, you can stick somebody in a Bulldog and basically pound away at a door somewhere.
Right. It looks like the Connery force is just beginning to finally clean up and do a proper full secure and isomining operations, just pushing off the last of the Miller forces. Looks like numbers and Watson redemption in Miller's favour. Rime Analytics looks like it's been saved by Miller again. Miller is back at Roar Material Labs with 1 minute 40 to go, although they're kind of bouncing around defence. It looks like Miller's definitely the team trying to make the captures happen. The Connery force currently is still in the lead with 50% to 44, so I mean it's still in their favour, but so I guess they can play the defensive game. I mean, if they want to play the defensive, we will just constantly redeploy and defend all our bases for the next hour and 27 minutes. That'll work in their favour. Although, if I was Connery, imagine the game changer would happen if you could grab one of the large outposts. Let's say you were to take Watterson's Redemption. You don't need to push anymore, but by grabbing these large outposts, you make it extremely difficult for Miller, because not only are they now in behind, still, they then have to take a large outpost to make any progress.
And speaking of large outposts, they have at least one person on the point of Isotech plant right now. I'm heading over there to see what they're doing there.
Oh, that's a lot of people actually. That's 14-8 to 96 trying to go for the tech plant. That's ballsy. I don't think Connery needs to make this play, but Gate Diffusing Sunder, they've decided to go for the tech plant. They have a large number of Connery forces on the balcony. I'm not seeing many vehicle spawns. One of the vehicle pads terminals is destroyed, but the second one is active. The Vanu do have an active vehicle terminal. But what we're not seeing is any form of vehicle spawn. I mean, they can pull Mag Riders, they can pull PPA harassers, they can even pull ATVs with radar on it, so they've got perfect 200-meter radar coverage. But we're not seeing them do that. And they've got this crucial... Yeah, and the thing is, they've got this crucial 1, 2, maybe even 3 minutes where they're completely unmolested and the Miller force has to respond and come in. And in that 2-3 minutes of time that you can reorganize, this is when you pull everything to get properly set up. Oh, while we wait for something going on the tech plant, or basically Miller's response. Miller's not getting the raw material labs. They've been pushed off the Rime Analytics. Watterson's Redemption, Miller's made the save. The Miller is trying to get Ymir Southern Reach again, but it is a 50-50 numbers, which means it favours the defenders because they can kind of rally and counter push.
Now, Miller does have a lot of ground pounding Reavers here. The Reavers are basically just a hunting pack of wolves outside the spawn room, trying to stop anyone from Connery from getting out of this. It looks like Connery has actually, regardless, managed to get through the door and is making the push onto the point as we speak.
Well, we're still watching the... Okay, so first set of Miller forces are incoming. It looks like they've got a squad dropping for the balcony. Looks like they're dropping in, perhaps trying to take the background. Balcony's heavily being covered by the Connery force. Ing drops down the Miller force on the balcony. Looks like they're being cleared up, though. It's just too many numbers for Connery. Although, is that them dropping down on the tunnels? It's hard to say. I think they are about to go through the tunnels.
It is a massive amount of force that Connery has decided to put at the tech plant. I mean, even with Miller's response, they are still out-popped 65-34 there. This becomes a point now. There are a lot of places ticking in Miller's favor because Connery's done this. This might be a gamble with too many people. Pale Canyon Chemical has started ticking. Bridge Ward has started ticking, and Ymir Southern Reach is still going in their favor. This is the gamble when you put too many people on one particular spot, and they have to sit there for the next 4 minutes.
Some brutal, and I stress brutal, fighting going on for the balcony at the tech plant. But right now, that's a horrible TK by Miller and Miller. But currently, Connery is holding the balcony. They are losing just the same number of people, but because they hold the ground, they are able to res their people. Miller, unfortunately, don't hold the ground, and therefore they can't res their people, so Connery holds the day. 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go, and I'm actually going to jump out the observer camera and jump back in because I've got that shaking annoyance.
By the way, I have found a little bit of Connery's Air Force. This is the first time I have seen them. This is not platoon strength worth of air down at Ymir's southern reach, but they did clear out whatever Reapers were down here harassing their own troops and allowed, by taking out spawn sunders, their own troops to get the point back here.
Gotta say, currently, the Miller force is trying to take back the tech plant. They're not doing a very good job. They're still outnumbered, I understand that. Perhaps they're trying to do a multi-prongs. I can see coming in from the tunnels, coming from double doors and the side flanks, or maybe they're waiting for the goal marker, but they're giving the Connery force the high ground and just letting them pelt away at them. So we're going to the back tunnel. Sunders have been set up by the Connery force, as we're saying. They are basically watching the back tunnel, and they've got that lovely parking, putting the wheel over the jump pad so you can't get out. That's the Sunder down. Now the Miller force can get up through the rear tunnel, but is it too little too late because of the number of people that got killed off at the back tunnel? I mean, there's a lovely contain going on by the Connery force, watching all the entrances, and they're still unmolested on the capture point. I mean, if you're going to push this off, right, one platoon on the upper balcony, what do?
I think, this is a big meta for several outfits on Connery, and they have very specific points where squads, or in this case with as many people, you might be setting whole platoons on the balcony, on the point, in the big non-functional gun deck, places where you know you can choke point your enemy as they come through, and a well-placed C4, a good rocket launch, things like that can take out entire groups of people as they try and come to you.
And see, this is what's getting me. Connery is making very good use of their Sunders, and I mean very good use of their Sunders. They're doing an exceptionally good job at bulldogging repairs. You know, it's all bulldogs inside here with kobolds, and it's such a resilient system, including in the central bay, that these are force multipliers. Miller is trying to come in on the ground floor, then take the jump pads to get up, and it's simply not working. And with 90 seconds to go, this becomes increasingly desperate, and Miller's just going to have to throw more and more numbers at it. What they should have done in the beginning, perhaps, is maybe not use the back terminal, but they should have used the vehicle terminal next to the SEU, and then used vanguards to systematically annihilate all of the Sunders for the Connery force, removing that force multiplier to bring in their own Sunders that can actually deploy underneath the base and then resupply in galore to take back the capture point.
What surprises me here is that Miller left a back vehicle terminal alive. It has become almost understood that you blow those up when you take the tech plant, and obviously they didn't, because one of them is released, or one of them is hacked for Manu. Although there is a huge...
Hold on. Massive, and I mean massive fight going on in the vehicle bay. Lots of Sunders. It is the Sunder Annihilation squads coming up. With 45 seconds to go, the map is a lot of blue. It's all down to Connery now. Can they hold on to the capture point? The capture point's flipping. Looks like they're still holding the upper balcony. They're sending reinforcements down to the capture point. That may have just been small forces. Miller's got it all to do here. They need to get to the capture point in the next 40 seconds, and it does not look like they're going to be able to pull this off. They're coming up from the upper staircase. There's lots of blue on the minimap. Huge amounts of blue. And they're coming in from the other side, so they've managed to come in from the southeast. They're on the capture points, lots of infiltrators. This is a huge recall by Miller, coming in at the absolute last moment now, taking the capture point. The balcony, the forces from the balcony, from the Connery force, tried to come down to the capture point. They were just wiped off. We'll look at the percentage numbers quickly. 62 to 36. There was a huge recall by Miller. Now, you might say that we could have been reading this wrong. We could have either this was exceptionally good play by Connery and Connery nearly took it, or the new conglomerate decided to come in at the last second as Miller saying, you know what, it's fine. Keep a small token force there to entertain the VS, and then we'll come in galore and save it at the last minute.
It is a huge pop sink, yes, and it is the danger when you're trying to take the tech plant. The danger trying to take a tech plant is not the first 6.5 minutes, it's the last 30 seconds. The last 30 seconds is when you're going to have your enemy redeploy twice your numbers with maxes and try and take you off. And that's exactly what Miller did. And it certainly looked like it was a planned thing, that they were perfectly okay with
it's nothing. The SCU generator, the SCU itself is going to be dead in 20 seconds. Miller needs to get themselves some spawn sunders. They can't just all abandon the tech plant. It's still too fragile. There are still two spawn sunders that I can see my map at least for the Connery force. Plus they're not going to have use of their spawn rooms, so they need to get their own set of spawns up for the tech plant. But at the same time, the Miller force completely abandoned Waterston's Redemption, which is why it was ticking down by a 24 to 48 force from Connery. but we can already see that some of the Miller forces already left the tech plant and gone back to Washington's Redemption to put up a resistance. Okay, they still outnumber the enemy 2-1, and I guess it's only a matter of time until they fix up their tech plant, but it is a big gamble, you know, losing the SCU.
Yeah,
and then deciding to leave.
Yeah, that SCU now allows the VS to use those tunnels to get back into A point if they wanted to, if they park a well-placed Sunderer. And it looks like Miller has sent their Air Force in to try and stop some of the things that are going on the outside of their tech plant, because that's where Connery is trapped. Although there's a Galaxy coming in for Connery right now. And that is Havoc, who just landed a Galaxy.
We can see Recursion inside the spawn room. Oh, infiltrate. The brutal fight actually going on in the spawn room itself. Little two-man team in medic, heavy assault. Oh, it's a lovely kill by the Gosso there. Well, we can see the Miller force, huge numbers, absolutely huge numbers. It's a massive population sink currently for Miller. They've saved their tech plant. They're pushing back onto the SU. Looks like Connery was trying to defend the SU. They still are technically doing it with a max and, you know, medic and engineer support. I'm not sure what that Miller engineer was trying to do, but people are dead. Oh wow, that's just overwhelming forces coming in onto the... so the SCU is now saved, it is being repaired, and the numbers are still roughly 50-50, so it's not as much of a population sink as we might think. You know, Connery has come back in with numbers. They haven't decided to attack elsewhere on the map.
Well, actually, Connery is currently attacking at Waterston's Redemption. They have it down to 216 and own all 4 points. I don't see a large enough NC force. As I say that, they're coming up the stairs with Maxes pushing into A. That's still only maybe 24 guys who are getting just torn apart by C4 outside, though.
Well, if there is an airball for the Miller forces, now's the time to have it. But I'm actually seeing more Connery sites in the air than I am Reavers. And you're right. They don't even have a single capture point, does the Miller force. So this is going to be a 1 minute 50 seconds, but 1 minute 50 seconds is enough to have the same people that you had at ISA Tech Plant go to Washington's Redemption. However, interestingly, the Matheson people that were at ISA Tech Plant when the numbers were roughly 50-50, I think they've gone to Washington's Redemption, because if we look at the map, there are plenty of Sunders, there are lots of scythes. I think Connery smells blood here. They see that, you know what, we can get Washington's Redemption. Why don't we send more and more at it and force the issue? Because if they take Washington's Redemption, that is huge, because Miller is already behind, but they can fall back on the fact that they have heavy, hard to take bases like Washington's Redemption and the Biolabs. But if they lose this, the uphill climb that they're going to have to go through is going to be staggering.
Miller did manage to get a squad onto D point. Connery is coming up and getting chewed apart at the stairs. The Miller forces at D do not have any max support though, so I did see plenty of VS maxes. If they can make their way over to this point, they could easily take out these people.
Miller's trying to take the Delta capture point. It looks like they've got their holds on it, so they've extended the cap timer by another 2 minutes. Well, but it's going back and forth now. There's a huge rallying now from the Connery force on the Delta capture point. Miller needs to spawn in, and they need to move quickly to a capture point. It's down to less than 60 seconds. This is extremely good for Connery right now. They've not been this close the entire game to taking Washington's Redemption.
This is the time to say, if you don't have people who are doing something at this exact moment, get them to Washington.
Even if they are doing something and it's not a critical base. You can't, unfortunately, leave the Biolab because it's too easy to be captured. But look at that! There's 48 to 96 new conglomerate Miller forces at the tech plant. That is almost criminal! Criminal! There's so many NC that is a tech plant, and what's going on Washington's Redemption? They've lost it. 20 seconds! I do not see how the Miller force can save Washington's Redemption. They need to get 2 capture points in the next 15 seconds. I'm astonished. And in fact, I'm not even seeing any maxes coming in. It's just infantry running, and they're absolutely getting slaughtered on all sides by an extremely good hold by Connery. They're just watching all the angles as they're coming out the spawn rooms. And that's it. Well done to Connery. They have managed to take Washington's Redemption in a situation where, honestly, Miller didn't really need to lose that.
No, and I think that's a classic example of Connery went for one base and got another because of it. They overloaded Isotech. They obviously really scared Miller, and Miller seemed to have a plan in place for what to do with ISA. They had talked it out, it looked like, of okay, we're going to let ISA go down this far, we're going to redeploy, we're going to go take it back. What they didn't have a plan for is what you do after that. How do you move to somewhere else? Because Connery was able to very, very quickly move their forces, get down to Watersons, and do spawn contains on them, and Miller was never able to bring enough forces to get that the base back.
Yeah, well, Miller's Air Force has turned up, but it's too little too late now at the Waterson's Triumph. So, if we look at the map, Miller was trying to take Rime Analytics, but now they've been pushed off. That leaves them just attacking one base with a low pop on Aurora Materials, and with 2 minutes to go, it's just too easy for, you know, Waterson, I say Waterson, sorry, for Connery to come in and make a save.
This also gives two easily attacked bases to Connery that they're going to be able to make pushes on. Echo Valley Substation and ISA Southern Camp. If they can get into ISA Southern, that gives them yet another connection into ISA as well.
I don't understand this. The Miller Air Force I just saw hovering over Rime Analytics, pounding Rime Analytics, but it's already a lost base. But running from the capture point into the capture building of Aurora Materials Lab is very exposed in the open air. There's no decent teleporters in that you're still exposed no matter where you go. Miller should focus their Air Force over Aurora Material Labs, not over Rime Analytics. That would have been so much more helpful in trying to grab this capture point. With 80 seconds to go, this force of Connery that's pushing outside would get absolutely hammered and would actually maybe give Connery, actually give Miller the chance to take the base of Connery, but it hasn't happened.
The group that was sitting at Isotech plant for the NC and not moving forward obviously was just slow to move to their destination. Their destination was ISA mining operation. If you go there, you will again see an insane number of vehicles. I mean, I can't believe all of these are manned. I can't believe all of these are actually shooting at something. It's like a parking lot surrounding the entire base right now. But that's where that population moved to.
Well, look at the populations, and I'm surprised because in the south, Ymir Biolab has 24 to 48 NC inside. Ymir Southern Reach has almost 50-50 numbers. That means there's a number imbalance in favour of the Miller in the south. Yet their main attack is currently going in the north. Those numbers don't seem to be beneficial in the south. So, and the fact is we also see the Vanu force trying to take Ice and Southern Camp now, which was a safe base, well, a secure base until, the old Octagon, Waterson's Redemption was captured. And they do have a decent number. They have a proper squad set up. Maybe not any maxes, but they've got motion sensors, and it looks like one outfit is just being a nuisance, seeing if they can't elicit a response of more than one squad, i.e. pulling away from Miller's resources.
Now this is interesting. You have a fairly large force of Connery VS at ISA Southern Camp, and you have an absolutely astoundingly massive force of NC at ISA Mining Operation. If you take your camera and sit on top of ISA Mining and look at ISA Southern, you can see it. You could fire your gun at that base. There's no reason why these NC couldn't be trying to save that base and capture this one at the same time. These two are astoundingly close, and yet the forces here are not actually fighting each other.
I think the way that their armor set up is different. The fact is Miller has got himself an armor group set up that's looking over the road, preventing any vehicle spawn outs from the mining operations. The capture point is in the hands of Miller, and with 80 seconds to go, they are actually in a relatively advantageous position.